So when you say they judge you and say, well, like, what type of stuff are they saying?
They'll say things like, she's doing this, making her daughter do these things. This is not how she is. You don't know how when the camera cuts off how this little girl really is, or you don't know what she had to do to make her do that. So sometimes it makes me say, hey, is this worth it? Like, is it worth like, putting her out there? And, I'm in my head, I'm doing it because it's funny. This is my daughter. We're laughing, but some people are just evil, and they think, they make up things and, try to make you out to be something that you're completely not. Like, my intentions are, you know pure, and I love my daughter, and I just want to share those moments with everybody, so when I'm sharing good moments and memories with you guys, and people turn it into something that it's not, it becomes draining.
We'll discuss race and how it plays a factor, and how we didn't even talk about this topic because we were afraid.
A Black executive perspective.
BEP is on fire. Our audience is growing fast and the impact is real. Now is the time for your brand to grow with us and reach a highly engaged, influential community with real spending power. Don't miss this moment. Email us today at media@TonyTidbit.com. Let's make it happen and put you and your brand in front of the people that matter. We are coming to you live from the new BEP studio for another thought-provoking episode of the Black Executive Perspective podcast, a safe space where we discuss all matters regarding race, culture, and those uncomfortable topics people tend to avoid. I'm your host, Tony Tidbit. So before we get started in this fantastic episode, I want to remind everyone out there, don't forget to check out our partners at Code M Magazine, whose mission is to save the Black family by first saving the Black man. So definitely check them out at codemmagazine.com. That is codemmagazine.com. So today we welcome Cassh Mahama, a devoted mother, digital marketing student, and creative entrepreneur, for a heartfelt conversation about balancing motherhood, business, and faith in the digital age. Cassh brings to light about managing her daughter Lyric's viral success, navigating online fame, and building a legacy rooted in authenticity and purpose. From protecting her child's innocence to launching new ventures like Lyric's Lunchbox and Lyric's Lab Studios, Cassh will show what it means to lead with love, faith, and vision. Let me tell you a little bit about my sister, Cassh. Like I told you earlier, she's a rising force in the digital creative and brand leadership. She has roots in music, business, and storytelling, and she's redefining what it means to be a modern parent in the creator economy, balancing family, purpose, and entrepreneurial. Her mission is to empower parents and creators alike to lead with integrity, build with intention, and leave a legacy of love, faith, and creativity. Cassh Mahama, my sister, welcome to a Black Executive Perspective podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, thank you, my girl. And look, you're busy. You're all over the place. I can't wait to dive in until we start talking about Lyric, right? How is she doing right now?
She's doing great. She's doing great. Keeping me busy as always, taking a nap right now. We tried to hold out, but
Well, while we're on that subject, tell everybody a little bit about your family and where you're currently residing at.
oh yeah. So I live in Whitewater, Wisconsin. A lot of people don't know where that is, but it's like an hour away from Milwaukee. Not too far. We go to Milwaukee all the time. It's like a mini Chicago to me. Everybody always say, "Oh, you live in a mini Chicago." um, but yeah, hour away from Milwaukee. It's just my husband, my two kids, Lyric, my son named Jr. He's 10. And my mom also lives in Wisconsin too, so I'm close to mommy.
Oh, that's awesome. So I've been to Wisconsin. I've been to Milwaukee a few times, and
hmm
I've been to Appleton, I believe, and that's where I think
Oh,
Applebee's was launched, something to that nature. I don't know if do you know anything
oh,
about
okay.
that?
I don't.
Okay.
I
All right.
don't.
But do you get to Chicago a lot? Because you're what, about an hour away from Chicago?
Actually, it's us 2.5 hours.
Okay. Wow.
I'm actually born and raised in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
I went
Got
to
it.
Chicago public school. I went to CVS, Chicago Vocational Career Academy. It's like
Okay.
one of the biggest high schools in Chicago. Yeah, I graduated there around 2000. I ain't gonna tell y'all my age, but I graduated there.
You don't have to, my sister. You don't have to, but I totally get it. Look, I'm from Detroit, so we're Midwesterners, so I definitely can relate. So let me ask you
Okay.
this. We went over this a little bit in your bio and into the when we introduced the episode here. You're very busy. You got a family. You have a daughter
Mhm.
who's a social media sensation.
Yeah.
You're working with her. You're managing her career. You're working with all
Mhm.
the different brands and sponsors. Your wife. You have another child. You're being asked to be on a lot of different platforms. So you're very, very busy. So the question I
Yeah.
have: why did you want to come on a Black Executive Perspective podcast to talk about this topic?
I just believe that, well, I respect what you're doing, first of all. When the young lady reached out to me, I didn't really know much about it at first, and I did some research, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing, what he's doing. You don't see a lot of podcasts talk about what you talk about. And that just inspired me. I have to get on and tell my story and get my voice out. Actually, you're our first podcast, so to you. So so this is actually something that I'll never forget, knowing that I'm on your platform, and yeah, you the first to hear and speak to me. So I'm honored.
Well, we're honored as well. And look, thank you. You're so humble, but like I said earlier, you have a daughter that's a internet sensation. So we're going to dive in it. So, are you ready to talk about it, my sister?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's talk about it. So, let's pick it up from right there, right? Obviously every movement starts with a moment of discovery, right?
Hmm.
And so I want to play it quick because I don't know if, even though your daughter Lyric is well known, like I said, she has hundreds of thousands followers
Hmm.
on, on Instagram and TikTok and the whole 9 yards. But obviously there are people who have not seen her, who
Hmm.
don't know who she is. So let me play a quick little clip of
Okay.
who Lyric is, right? And then what I
Uh-huh.
want to ask you, we'll go from there. But the question I want to ask you is, how did you see this? Because at the end of the day, she's just, well, let's let the audience take a look, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay. Okay.
I'm doing good, girl. What you eating? Pork rinds? Oh, can I have one? I don't want the one you ate on. I want my own. Can I have one? Well, how you feeling today? That's good. So, you want to do something today? You want to go to the store with me? I got a couple errands to run. Want to go with mommy today? Why? Lyric, you don't want to go with mommy today? Why?
I mean, that is adorable. Matter of fact, how old is she? Because she seems like an old soul, like she's an adult, right?
Yeah.
And she's running everything, right? So
She's
talk to us a
2.
little bit. She's 2 years old. Guys, did you just
Hmm.
see that? You see, is that a regular 2 year old to you? All right. Oh my God. So you can see why she's become this social media sensation. So my question, just to back up a little bit, is,
Uh-huh.
when did you first realize that she had a special spark, the natural confidence and charisma? Just talk a little bit about that.
Well, like it all started off when we signed a modeling contract when she was 6 months old. Um I was looking at, I seen something in her at the beginning, but I'm like, nah, maybe I'm tripping. Like for instance, she was sitting up at like around 6 months. She was sitting
Mm.
up and moving around, moving her head, doing motions that, I'm like, wait a minute now, you're not supposed to be doing this.
Did it
And
scare you
so
like a
it kind of
incarnation or
scared
something
me.
like that?
It kind of scared me.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
I'll be I'll be having conversations and just talking to her, like, what I learned is, like, when you want, just like I want you to understand me, and I'm understanding you, we're going to talk. So that's what I started doing to her at a young age. I talk to her as if she's a normal person, not a baby. So I think that kind of like I'll say things and then she'll respond. One day she would just responded. I'm like, I love you. I love you. I'm like, wait a minute. So just like, I guess not treating her like a baby at the beginning, treating her like she's a normal person. And I guess as she got older, she just started to just, mature and show me all these signs early.
But here's the thing, though. As she got older, she's only 2. All right. So,
Right.
you kidding me?
Right.
You mean she went from 6 months to 8 months? She got older, right?
Right.
So so what made you start filming her and sharing it to the world? Tell us a little bit about that.
It's time to rethink your protein. AgileLab's protein bars are crafted with high-quality protein, double the leucine, and enriched branched-chain amino acids, essential for optimal muscle recovery. Finally, a protein bar that works as hard as you do. So visit agilelabs.com and use the code BEP to get 20% off. That's agilelabs.com, promo code BEP.
Okay, so it started when we was doing vlogs. When she was doing her gigs, we'll take her to, like, Kohl's or any gig that she had, VTech Toy Company. I'll start off with the recording her and just doing like little pieces of her get ready with me lyric. We're going to do a gig, stuff like that, and she'll say something or do something in the camera, and people like, wait a minute, that's not a normal baby. And I see people, I'll go in the comments, and, to me it's normal because I'm used to her doing it. But, everyone else, they're like, wait a minute, did she just do that? Did she just pick that up? Did she just, and I'm like, I start paying it to, attention to it more. And then we start doing food content where she'll go out and she'll watch me season my food, and she'll season her food. And they're like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Did she just put some salt on her fries?
Well, hold on for a second. Just so we're clear, though. So you started signing her up. You had a modeling gig right off the
Mm-hmm.
bat, right? When you said she
Mm-hmm.
was 6 months, and then when
Mm-hmm.
you said B rolls, tell us a little bit. What is a B roll? So it seems like you had her set up to be out there in terms of modeling and
Yeah.
or being a part of a commercial. Or talk a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
Yeah, well, we were doing vlogs. We was logging, we was like recording our day-to-day activities, or when she does gigs. I
Okay.
record those days, her getting up, get ready with me lyric, get ready with lyric. She's going out to perform, to do a
So how
gig.
did you sign
She's
her up to gigs though? Talk to a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
I started off with that, with just doing research,
Okay.
looking up different companies where they were looking for models, and just submit her pictures, take I took her to get her photo shoot done around 5 6 months, and her headshots, and I just submitted them everywhere I could. Any company that was looking for model agencies, talent agencies, in Chicago, here in Wisconsin. I just kept going until someone called us back. A lot of people called us back, and there was a lot of no's. It was a lot of we don't know. Can you come and audition? So we just did a lot of open calls. People call us and say, "Hey, we're interested, but we want to see her in person." It wasn't until like maybe like 3 4 months down the line after doing that we got a call back from an agency, and we got the call, and they said they wanted to sign her, and we took off from there.
What type? So she was like 9 months then. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
about 9 months. And then, so what type of work was she doing that they
She
wanted
was
her to
doing
do?
like She was doing print work. Have you ever went in a store in Target and you seen some kids on, a toy or, a box with their, like a basketball, or, you see a toy car, you see that kid. That's the type of work that she
Got
was
it.
doing.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. And then, so how did you, were you, when you grew up, were you in modeling? Or so how did you know about, and what inspired you because you have two kids, what inspired
hmm
you to go ahead and jump in at 6 months and start doing the research and making this happen?
Um, I always had like, entertainment in my blood. Like I started with music. I was an artist. I'm still an artist, but I don't do it as much. So I write music.
Mm,
I did a lot of performing, R&B, hip hop, and I never really had that push from my family, and they know that I had it in me. Just like I seen Lyric at a young age, like, oh, it's something in her special. I want people to see that, I wanted someone to see that in me as well. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe, I didn't get the opportunity, but I'm going to make sure my daughter gets the opportunity. So
mm,
that's what pushed me. I seen something in her early. I had a background for, knowing when, knowing that someone have something special in them and trying to push them and finding resources, looking up things and, educating myself on it. So I'm like, why not? Why not push her?
that is awesome. And you know what? You said something that's key too, right? Number one, it's something I always believe in. And it doesn't matter if I believe, it's just a fact. Every human being, I don't care where they live at, where they come from, what color they are, economic status, we all have a talent. We're all born with
Mm-hmm.
something that we naturally can do, right? And to
Mm-hmm.
your point, if you can see that in your child earlier, and, the right thing to do. The thing is that you want to see if you can, because that's their superpower, right?
Yes.
And there's nothing, it's unlimited, right? And so for
Right.
you to recognize that, yeah, obviously that didn't happen, for you when you were a kid, but as being a mother, a parent,
Yeah.
and one of our things is always being better than our parents and not knocking our parents because everybody did the
Right.
best that they could, right? Or what they
Exactly.
knew at that
What they
time.
knew
But
how.
at the end of the day, it's always important. And here's the thing. You see that all the time when it comes to kids playing sports,
Yeah.
right? You see my daughter can swim, so I'm gonna get her a swim team. Or my son can hit a baseball, throw a baseball, play football, basketball. And if their parents jump in immediately or sing,
Mm-hmm.
dance, play piano, act. So it should be no
Exactly.
different. It should be no different. So what did
Mm-hmm.
some of when you were like, she got her first gig, what was some of the things that kind of surprised you? Because she's still only 9 months. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like, and I get it, she's up on a picture of a Tonka toy or something of that
Mm-hmm.
nature, right? But for them to
Mm-hmm.
keep bringing you back, what was some of their commentary that made you say, this is a little bit more than just taking photos? Because you said she started in the print area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just when I kept getting called back saying, hey, like for instance, she did a campaign for Kohl's, a Christmas shoot. The first time she did it, all the babies in there were crying, and they had to like have people in there to try to get their attention. And they were doing all kind of things to keep the babies calm. And Lyric was just sitting there like, let's get this done, let's get it over with. She was just a natural. And I think after we did that shoot 2 days later, they reached out to me again and say, hey, we'd like to do a whole campaign, Christmas campaign.
Wow.
Is it okay? And I brought her back and she did it. She knocked it out. The shoot was supposed to be 2 hours. I think she did it in like 30 minutes. So once I seen how natural it came to her. So I knew it was something special. I had to keep pushing.
Well, and look, you had to keep pushing. So this is a big thing now, right? Because
Yeah.
like I said, you're a wife.
Mm-hmm.
You have a son. What's your son's
Mm-hmm.
name?
His name is JR.
And how old is JR?
He's 9.
So JR is 9, right? And
Mm-hmm.
your husband, what's your husband's name?
James.
James. So you got a
Mhm.
beautiful family. We have a picture up right now showing your beautiful family, right? And so your mother, you're a producer, you're a writer of music, okay? And now you're what they call mom manager, right?
Mhm.
And so how do you balance all this, right? Because at the end of the day, that's a lot. And let's be fair, talk, because one of the things is that when you have an agent, they're calling and saying, we got to make this happen tomorrow or next week
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. And there's no, I can't do it, or you don't get the job, right? So
Right.
talk a
Right.
little bit how you balance family and business.
Well, at first it was really hard. It was tough to try to like for instance, it's a lot of people that, judge me, go in the comments, say things about me, and that was really mentally draining to me. So that was
So
one
when you
thing
say
that
they judge you and say, well, like, what type of stuff are they saying?
they'll say things like, she's doing this, she's making her daughter do these things. This is not how she is. You don't know how when the camera cuts off how this little girl really is, or you don't know what she had to do to make her do that. So sometimes it makes me say, hey, is this worth it? Like, is it worth like, putting her out there? And I'm in my head, I'm doing it because it's funny. This is my daughter. We're laughing, but some people are just evil, and they think, they make up things and, try to make you out to be something that you're completely not. Like, my intentions are, you know pure, and I love my daughter, and I just want to share those moments with everybody, so when I'm sharing good moments and memories with you guys, and people turn it into something that it's not, it becomes draining. So,
Right.
I just have to, as far as time management, knowing when to get off, hey, today I'm just going to take a day off. I'm just going to just spend time with my family. My son got a basketball game today. And then they actually say things like, hey, she's not paying her son any attention, so that gets under my skin. So I'm like, you guys don't live with me. You don't know what I do. Like, actually, I coached my son's basketball team the whole season last year for his basketball team. And I do so many things people don't even know about. So I'm like, I was just with my son the whole season playing basketball, rooting him on and everything else. You don't know what I do. We cook together, we pray together at night. Like, people don't know, what I do with my son. So like, sometimes putting me, trying to put my family against me, or, however, try to, make me feel like I'm doing something bad when that's really not the case.
Right, right, right. Well, number one, sorry to hear that. Number two, um, at the end of the day, it's unfortunate, but a lot of times when people do that, they're jealous, they're envious,
Mm-hmm.
and they ain't got nothing else to do anyway but go and troll other people and
Mm-hmm.
worry about other people's lives, right? But let's just back up a
Mm-hmm.
second because um, people are saying these things about you. However, when I just got finished saying, when somebody sees their son or daughter at 4 or 5 years old can do ballet or
Exactly.
piano or hit a baseball or throw a football or whatever the case may be, and then they're spending thousands of dollars signing them up for
Exactly.
this, travel this, taking them, they're doing homework in the car,
Mm-hmm.
all those type things,
Exactly.
right? You don't hear none of that.
Exactly.
All
Hmm.
right. You don't hear none of that. So
No,
just
exactly.
recognize you're doing nothing different than those same parents,
Thank
right?
you.
And look, those parents, unfortunately, they're not on the difference is social media. Your
Mm-hmm.
daughter is on social media, right? And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, people can hide behind the screen and they can say whatever they say. But just recognize this is something that all parents do. And I love what you said. So how do you stop losing yourself? Because you just got finished saying it's a full job with Lyric and her business. Your son, like you said, you coach his basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
You have a husband, you have a house. There's a ton of things. You're a student as well. Tell her, you're going to
Yeah.
school. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you plan all this out and still for yourself create some type of sanity that you can wake
Uh-huh.
up the next day and keep moving forward?
Well, I'm gonna just be honest, completely honest with you, Tony. That's something that I'm working on. Sometimes I'm mixed up in so many roles, and I lose myself in the process. So now I'm trying to learn how to make time for myself, and still know that I have dreams and things that I want to accomplish too. So that's something that I'm working on, making time for myself. That's why I decided to go back to school as well, because I do want to continue to educate myself on the marketing world, and because it's changing every day, I want to just always know like what's going on and how to do this. So that's something that I decided to do for myself, to go back to school. So I can one day maybe work for you, Tony.
I don't know about that. Maybe I'll be working for you, right? But let me back up though, because you said something that's key, and I want to, if you're okay, I want to dive there a little bit. You said sometimes you lose yourself. Like, what do you mean?
Like sometimes you just get, I am so in love with my family. I'm in love with my family and making memories and progress and success. I think sometimes I want them to be everything that I wasn't able to be. Does that make sense? Like I want
Mm-hmm.
to pave the way.
It makes
Um,
total sense.
my family, we didn't have like no one in our family to say, hey, this person became this, or this person became this, or this person's on TV. Like I wanted my legacy to be that. So I think that's what I'm working hard for every day. Like I want Lyric to know and JR to know, my husband to know, like I'm doing this for us, not just me. I want to create that legacy.
If you like what you hear and want to join us on this journey of making uncomfortable conversations comfortable, please subscribe to a Black Executive Perspective podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hit subscribe now to stay connected for more episodes that challenge, inspire, and lead the change.
And number one, that's selfless. Shows, to your point, how much you do love your family, right?
Mm-hmm.
But back to you though, right? You have to
Right.
carve some time out for you, right?
Right.
Right. At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, that's just, everybody needs to have some time and some space. So it's good
That's
to hear
true.
that you're working on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you
Yeah.
said, going back to school and doing something for you, because it can be a lot of work. But here's the
Exactly.
thing though. The one thing though, just based on what you said and how you said it,
Mm-hmm.
with emotion and passion. And obviously, when people see this or listen to it, or as they're watching it now, they should
Yeah.
never question your authenticity about your family and why you do
Mm-hmm.
what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because it takes a lot of work, but more importantly, you just demonstrated in a very, like I said, a very passionate, emotional way, how you love your
Mm-hmm.
family and you're putting them
Mm-hmm.
first and you're trying to make sure that you're making a way for them so that they can
Exactly.
set themselves up, which is great. So speaking of making a way, and again, we got to give you a lot of credit here. And you've created some brand partnerships
Mm-hmm.
with for Lyric. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit about those. How do you choose them? Which ones make sense for her, and like which ones do you stay away from?
Well, a lot of companies, that's a good question. A lot of companies reached out. We do a lot of food content where we go in restaurants and Lyric could just be herself and do things and like I think what let me talk about this first. I think what connects people to Lyric's food content is okay, she's a toddler, she's a baby. And as people know, she's mature. But like going in a restaurant, wiping your face, knowing when to put Parmesan cheese on something, knowing when to
And
salt something,
that too.
knowing when to give a tip, knowing when to hey, the check is coming, okay, it's time to give the tip. That's something special, like that I think that made people like, hey, we got to check this little girl out. We don't see this every day. So I continue to build our content around that. Like every video, Lyric is doing something different. And that's what I think that, why it's so successful now. But to answer your question, I just, far as the brands and stuff like that, I at first, by me being new to this and I don't have lawyers and people that I talk to, business lawyers, I had to sign with a management company just recently because of this situation where people reach out and they'll say, hey, we sent the contract over, we want to sign her, we want to partner with her. And I'll read it and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, like this, this is a lot for me, so I was saying yes to a lot of things, and then I had to backtrack myself, like, hey, I'm moving kind of fast, I need to hire people, I need to hire a team, to help me understand these things because I'm still learning. So I'm not going to talk about the brands, right now, give that information out, but it's a lot of people that reached out, asking about Lyric, but until I am comfortable and I feel like that it suits her and I'm protecting her, make sure she's protected, then I'm just going to take my time. So, um, we have a team now. That's a good thing. We have a team where they tell us, hey, this is not good for her. Maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that, and just kind of direct me in the direction I need to go instead of just signing things and putting her in things that I know nothing about.
Very smart. I'm glad you did that, my friend. And
Mm.
so it can go fast, right? Because
Yeah.
next thing you know, you're getting, like you said, for 3 months, I was sending stuff out, and everybody's get lost or
Yeah.
whatever. And then after that, come on in, and next thing you know, it blows up, right? Now you got
Yeah.
this person and that person and this person. I'm curious though, and you don't have to say the brand, but when you say,
Mhm.
your team says, hey, this ain't good for her. Like, give me an example. Like, what do they mean when they say this ain't good for her?
For instance, like, if a company reach out and say, hey, we want Lyric to try these sauces, like put this sauce on her food in a restaurant.
Hmm.
Or, we want her to, say this or say that, they be like, wait a minute, well, looking at Lyric's content, she's like particular, she don't want, she's gonna say, hey, I want ranch. I don't want that. I want ranch dressing. What's that? I never seen that before. So they'll say, okay, maybe, she's still a baby. Even though she's mature, babies still want what babies want. I'm used to the ranch. So maybe, that's not good for her right now.
No, that
Or
makes so sense.
it may be, it may be a spicy sauce,
Right. It
and they
makes
say,
so
hey,
sense.
just put a little bit on. She won't taste it. Like, that doesn't make sense. I want it to still feel real. You know what I mean? Not just do things because it's a check involved or they want, to say, hey, it's beneficial to them because she's getting a lot of views. And, if it doesn't feel right, hey, we're not going to do it. So,
I love it. I love
yeah.
it. I love it. How important is it? And again, so let me ask you this. I got to ask this question.
Okay.
Um, do you think she was on this planet before?
Oh yeah, I mean I ask myself that all the time. I ask I cause like some things she do, like sometimes when I'm recording Tony, I have to sit back and stop pressing, hey, wait a minute, and go back and say, did she just say what she said? She said because I'm just as shocked as everybody else. Like so sometimes I have to ask myself, like for instance, she calls my mom Mima. No one in the family, ever said that. Never called it's grandma or granny, not Mima. So I'm like, who is this person? calling, calling, their grandma Mima. So she'll say things like, hey, call Mima. And I'm like, I have to who?
Is
and
it
and my
what?
mom's like,
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
yeah, so my mom's like, like I never heard that before. Like people down south say it. I heard, like heard them say Nana or
Right.
Mima, So I'm like, they're like, maybe this baby reincarnated came back from down south, like it just I
You
don't
never know. You never know.
yeah.
You never know. The reason I ask is because obviously, when you have somebody that, that's so much, we're not talking an 8-year old, okay,
Yeah.
or a 10-year old, somebody 15, and they say, oh, they have an
Yeah.
old soul and this and that. When you're talking somebody that's 6 months, 9 months, too, I've looked at some of her videos and I'm like this, and the mannerisms, right? The
Yeah.
mannerisms,
Mhm.
how she saw and puts her stuff on, and it's amazing. So I had to ask that question because I was like, and maybe there's somebody in your family that she reminds you guys of, or your
Uh-huh.
mother or your uncle or something like that, and
And
say,
I'm not really sure because my husband, mom, she passed away when he was young, so I never got to meet her. I never seen. I just seen pictures. She looks just like her. I wish I would have sent you the picture to show you, but they look alike. And sometimes I think like maybe she came back. I don't know. I don't
never know.
know.
You never know. Well, here's the thing. Let me ask you this. You spoke a little bit about it too, right?
Mhm.
Um, at the end of the day, you're dealing with a lot. So
Mhm.
what's the hard, and you spoke a little bit about it, but I love to, maybe there's some other things. What's the hardest part of being both a mom and a manager?
Mm. I believe that's a good question. I believe that the hardest part is like knowing when to turn off those maternal instincts and then knowing when to keep that business hat on. Sometimes, like, for example, someone will post something in the comments and they'll say something. I'm like, what? I have to stop myself. Wait a minute, I'm going off. But then I had to, make sure, that I'm still being business minded. Like, if someone in a company of McDonald's seen someone talking trash about their food, are they gonna go in there and comment something nasty and say, hey, you don't eat there if you don't want it, they're gonna ignore it. So I
They
always have
probably
to,
want to say that, but they're not
yeah,
going
they
to say
want
it. To your
to.
point. Yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
probably want to so bad, but just knowing that you have to have self-control. And remember, like, I'm part of Lyrics brand, so I have to remain that. I have to remain professional at all times, even when I want to be mom. So just knowing when to balance those things, um, especially now that we have a team, I have to make sure that I'm always professional and remind myself, okay, time to turn off, even if I got to turn off the comments for a little while, if I have to do that to protect myself, and my mindset, then I'll do that.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about faith. Where does faith fit in?
Faith is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle for me and my family. Every day, every single day, we don't miss prayer with our kids, praying at night, praying in the morning. We Our God is in us every day. So just knowing that I have to keep that first. Like, for instance, I'm gonna give you an example. In our bio, I have God first in Lyrics bio. And the management company that we work with, they say, hey, can you tweak your bio a little bit? We have to, add this and add that, maybe just put this. And I told her, I said, I hope you don't know I'm gonna not gonna take God first up out of there. you know And she said, no, I respect that. I respect that. You can keep that. So I'm like, whatever I can, I make sure that, we can keep everything else in an email and all the little tweaks you have. But my faith in God is always going to be there. And I'm going to remind people that.
That is
So,
awesome.
yeah.
You use a phrase called divinely aligned. What does that
hmm
mean? Especially in the moments where, look, let's be fair. People are saying nasty stuff. Sometimes as parents, we do doubt ourselves. Am I doing the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Did I handle the situation the right way? So talk a little bit of how that, that divinely aligned helps you in those moments of doubt.
Just remember, like, where you come from and where you're going. People are always gonna try to come in and sometimes we're human. We're gonna have to keep reminding us, or have those doubts, like, am I doing this right? Am I, if am I making the right decision? But just reminding yourself, like, hey, first of all, these kids came from me. I know exactly what I'm doing and how I want to do it. And just always, as my mom always had a saying that she said, what goes in this house, what happens in this house stays in this house. And I try to live by that, even when people try to make me feel uncomfortable or say, well, she's not doing this or she's not doing that. I have to remind myself, you don't know what's going on in here. So I have to always, just keep that, in my head, that no one knows what's going on. No one knows what I'm trying to do. Only my family and only God. And just make sure that I keep that in line.
Tell me a little bit about your husband. How does he, tell us a little bit about how he fits into, everything that you guys do from a family standpoint, as well as Lyrics career and your son as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, my husband, he's kind of shy. He's shy. I wouldn't say shy. He's laid back. He's a laid back guy. He's not really in like the camera and everything like that, but he does support everything that we do. Like, if I say, "Hey, come in," you don't even got to be in. Just show you, just say something in a video, or just I want people to know that she has a father. I want people to know that you're in the picture. And he's like, "Okay, I'll do that. I'll make sure I do that." And he just support us no matter if he feels, if he has to like come out of his shell, he'll do that. So that's how I know that no matter what, he's gonna make sure he support us and make sure that we're comfortable and make sure that, hey, like, he sees something in Lyric as well. So he's gonna be there and support, like, even if it's uncomfortable to him sometimes.
That is awesome. One of the things is, and what I'm hearing is that you guys have a great family unit,
Mm-hmm.
of a lot of love with God first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's a lot of work, and we're all human beings, and we doubt and
Mm-hmm.
all that type stuff. But at the end of the day, you have a foundation
Yeah.
of love, family that comes first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and so that's all that matters,
Yeah.
okay? Right? And
Right.
one of the things that I know we struggle with as parents is, like I said, did we do the right thing? Did we do right this
Mm-hmm.
and that on our yards? The challenge is I don't have a bunch of people on social media looking at my life and saying
Right.
he didn't do this for his daughter. All right. Or
Mm-hmm.
he using her. All right.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case may be. Right. Well, you do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
a lot, to be fair.
It's
That
a
is a
lot.
lot. That is a
Mm-hmm.
lot, especially when it's not the truth.
Exactly.
Okay, if
Mm-hmm.
it was the truth, then it's just like a criminal who got caught, and they're in the interrogating room. They ain't sitting there nervous; they going to sleep.
Right.
All right, because they know they busted. They ain't worrying about nothing. See what I'm
Right.
saying? Versus
Right.
somebody who didn't do it, they scared to death. They
Yeah.
sitting there like,
Exactly.
I ain't do. Why they got me? I can't believe So that causes anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
stress.
Yes.
Okay. And that's just
Mm-hmm.
one part of life, right? That's not
Mm-hmm.
all the other stuff we deal with, right? So,
Right.
I get it. I definitely understand it. One of the things, like I said earlier, I recognize that a lot of other families do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of other things with their children, no differently, right? The
Yep.
only thing is they're not on social media, right? So that's the
Exactly.
key. So speaking of that, tell us a little bit. So your Lyric is about to have multiple shows, and she's about to do a sports thing with Tom Brady, and she's got a lot of things going on. So talk to us about Lyric's Lunchbox. What is that, and how did that idea come to life?
So social media, they were so in love, like Instagram, TikTok, how Lyric eat, how her appetite is. And so they, someone made a comment, they were like, oh my God, like, you should do a lunchbox book and just have different recipes in there for, for parents and stuff like that, to help us, because a lot of kids are picky, maybe they don't eat enough at school or they don't eat their lunch at all. That'll help us as parents. Maybe you should look into that. So I did. And, I talked about it with my husband. I'm like, people are asking me to create a book for, a lunchbox book with recipes. And he's like, yeah, we can do that. We can throw some jollof rice in there. He's Ghanaian.
As long as he get a couple recipes of his in there, all right? So
Right, right. Yeah, so Lyric is also in daycare too. So when she go, I go in there sometimes and I get some footage of her just opening her lunchbox. She may have some quesadillas in there homemade. She may have some jollof rice. She may have some pork chops and mashed potatoes.
So she eats. So 2 year old, she eat all that.
She most of it she does.
Wow,
Most of it she does. Uh-huh.
wow.
Sometimes she comes home and she has, leftovers, or she'll pack it, she know how to pack her own stuff back up and put it in a box. And when she come home, she like, "Hey, mom, warm my food up, warm it up,
That's
microwave."
that's insane. That is insane. Oh my god. So talk about the lab studio. She's also going to have something, the Lyric Lab Studios. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, actually, the lab studio came, it was just something I wanted to do for myself.
Okay.
Since I'm in the music background, I just named it after her. Um, so I wanted to create a studio where I help, kids and young adults do music. Like I didn't have the resources when I was younger, like, going to the recording studio and, knowing how to, actually write a song and, the blueprint of making a song, the chorus, the hook, you know, I wanted to be able to help kids do that, create their first song, their first album, their first demo, knowing the business side of things. When you go into the studio, you want to know how much the rate is. You want to know, okay, this is such and such an hour. Okay, how can I create a budget so I can, have my studio time for the week? How can I trust the engineer, or even safety for women? Like when you go in the studio, how to handle yourself professionally. Um, and this industry is not as safe for women, like us.
Right.
We have to do
Right.
things differently and move things differently. I just want to educate women as well on that part of the music business as well. So I wanted to create a studio around that. You go into the studio world, the music business. You want to learn how to create a song, or even engineering. if you want to know the background, like the basics of producing your own song, I want to have like producers and songwriters and people, the whole you dig in there just to help people that love music. So I just named it after Lyric because I named her Lyric because I love music. So
I love it.
that's
I
how that
love
came
it.
about.
That is
Hmm.
beautiful. That is beautiful. How do you
Thank you.
balance, pursuing her dreams and also yours?
See, that's the hard part, Tony. That's that's what I'm trying to figure out when I talked to you earlier about that. Like, just knowing, like, hey, it's okay to, take time for yourself,
It
and
is.
and most importantly, it's not too late.
No, it's not.
That's what we have to remind ourselves as parents. And this industry, it's so hard on us. Like they'll tell you, oh, how old you say you are? You doing what? And we listen to those things, and we think that it's not possible, but we have to keep reminding ourselves, it's not too late. If God put something in you special and he has a calling for you, that nobody else should have a say about that.
There's no question. And here's the other
Yeah.
thing too, right? Um, I remember one of the things that always bothered me, and it would come up, is guilt,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have kids, everything's supposed to be about them, right? You brought
Yeah.
them into the world, so you want to make sure that you raise them up the right way and try to set them up for every opportunity that they can take advantage based on their talent, all that type of
Yes.
stuff. Go to school, you want them to, graduate college, all those things. So you sacrifice, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
However, but you still living too.
Yeah.
Okay. You ain't
Yeah.
dead yet. All
Yeah.
right. You got talents. All right. You
Right.
got still got dreams. So then
Exactly.
sometimes it'll be like, if I do this, am I taken away from this and that? And at the end of the day, at least this is what I've learned, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you're taken away where they're not eating, or
Mm-hmm.
you're taken away where they, financially, you're putting them in a tough spot,
Yeah.
or you're not treating your children with love and respect or providing the time for them that they need,
Yeah.
okay, then maybe you are being a little selfish. But if you're
Yeah.
doing all that, and guess what, then it's
Yeah.
okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay for you to run after your stuff as well, right?
And
They're
my
two
husband
things
tells me, yeah,
true at the same time. Go ahead, my sister.
that's true. My husband says this all the time. He says, "Yeah, you're doing all this for Lyric and Jr., but you have to remember they may grow up and they want to may do something completely
Correct,
different.
correct,
They may
correct.
you putting all the blood, sweat, and tears in something that they grow up and may say, Mom, I don't want to do that. I'm not real into that anymore." And your heart is gonna be broken. So in the meantime, you need to be making sure that every dream or everything that you want to do while you're on this earth, that you do it, because you just never know. So I always have to keep that in mind too, Tony.
Listen, I can tell you a quick story. My mother, she put all her efforts into her children,
Hmm.
right? Everything, right? And then what happened? We became older, and then we left. And then we started
Hmm.
having mates and started putting efforts into our own families. And my
Yeah.
mother, for a while became, she was, I don't want to say, she became salty, I should say. Let's just say that,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because she's like,
Hmm.
I did everything for my kids and this and that. No, not now. They're,
Wow.
and so at the end of the day, you got to live your life too, right?
Yes.
And your husband, he said it right off the bat. Your kids are going to grow up and they're going to go and move
Hmm.
on, right? So
Yeah.
you got to take
Hmm.
time for yourself too and build your own life. So when your
Hmm.
kids move on, you can still do the things that, God gave you to do. So let me ask
That's
you
right.
this.
That's
What's
right.
one of the lessons that you learn as a parent in this digital space that you want to share with everybody else?
Um, what's one thing I learned?
Just from a social
It's so
media.
hard. I learned so much though doing this whole process with Lyric. I just so many people get wrapped up and want to be viral, and they'll think all day of how can I do this? How can I do that? I just say, like, I learned that just let things be and let things happen naturally, and and that's when the most is gonna come to you.
I love
When you
that.
do things honestly and truthfully and just from your heart and just good intentions, like God God just pour down blessings. You'd be like, wait a minute, like I didn't expect this, the unexpected. So just like not thinking into things so deep and just letting, hey, I could just one day wake up and say, hey, I'm just going to record a video. And I look up and that video made 10 million views. And I'm like, wait a minute, like 10 million views. Like I didn't expect that. I'm just living my life. I'm just showing people what I do every day. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you this. You're in Milwaukee. You've
White
built
one.
some.
Yeah. Yeah. You could say
Outside
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee,
I
outside
take
Milwaukee,
it.
right? You're building something. You've built something and you're expanding on it. And you didn't know how to do it. You just did it, right? So what advice do you give to the other mothers who they have ideas, right? They want to start something, but they're afraid to take that step?
I would say just follow your heart. Just if you see something and you know from your heart that hey, this can go somewhere. Michael Jackson's father didn't know that he was gonna be a star. He didn't know he was gonna have all these star kids, I always say Raven Simone, like, all these child stars, that started off really, really young and they wouldn't be where they are now if they didn't have the family and the parents in their life to push them. So if you see something and you want you want it to be something, turn into something, then make it happen. Don't listen to what people say. It's going to be a lot of outside noise, but long as you have the people inside of your house and you know that hey, this is my circle, this is what I care about, don't worry about what everything else is going on. Just focus on the goal for what you have for your family.
I love it, my sister. I love it. Final thoughts. What do you want to leave? What do you want to leave the audience here, my sister?
um if there's any parent out there that want to do anything social media or anything like that, reach out to us. I'm not going to say I know everything, but I can help you along the way. You can reach us at Cassh Mahama. That's CASSH Mahama, MAHAMA. You can follow us on TikTok. That's where we normally are. Instagram is Lyric Mahama. Like, let's just connect. Let's just, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, Tony, to drop the knowledge.
Drop the knowledge, my girl. Not only that, not only you dropping the knowledge, but you're dropping love as well. And you're willing to help and give back and help other individuals. Okay. And that's what life is about, man. It's about all of us helping one another. And so you could be sitting back, to be fair here. Okay. You could be like, look, I got too much. I got to take care of my own daughter. I ain't got time to be looking to help nobody else. I'm trying to go to school. I'm trying to start this lab. I'm doing this lunchbox.
And you know what? That in our community, that's so sad.
It is.
Like
it is.
it's gatekeeping. They call it gatekeeping, where like you just don't want to give information because you're afraid of that other person getting ahead of you, or doing something better than you. And that's in our families too.
There's
You
no
ever
question.
call an auntie or uncle to ask you to help you do something, and they got it like, oh, I'll let you
They was
know.
like, abba. So true.
So just, I feel like if it started with me, like I'll let you know exactly how I did it, when I did it, how I did it, I'll help you out. So if you reach out to me, DM me, I can walk you through the whole the process of Lyric when she became a model, how I did it, how I did my research. Any concerns that you have, just let me know.
Oh, I love that about you, my sister. Well, speaking of that, how can a Black Executive Perspective podcast help you?
What y'all can do? I was just
Go ahead. I just threw this on the table, right?
Yeah, actually, Tony, since you brought this up, right, of me, making time for myself and building my future, I would like to be a part of what you have going on. So you can do that for me. Teach me. We can.
My girl,
That'll be a help.
Stop. That's automatic. All right. You should have gave me something harder to do. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I think, you already have your daughter has a platform. Okay, to be fair,
Mhm.
right? Now
Mhm.
you set up your own platform, right? So we'll
Mhm.
chat after this. And so you guys, you heard this on live on BEP. You're going to
Yes.
see Cassh have a podcast. She's going to be part of BEP and she's going to have her own show coming soon. So this was kind of the
Okay.
preamble that we just threw out there, right? So
Right.
you know, check back after a while. You're going to see that. So don't be surprised. You're going to see this young lady. You're going to hear some music playing and you're going to see her, a little logo will come across the screen and you're going to hear her say, "Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Cash Money and I'm ready to help y'all get paid right here on BEP." Okay.
I like that. I
Right?
like
You
that.
see how quickly that can happen? See that? That's just off
Yeah.
the top, right? That's just off the
Yeah.
top, right? But off
Mhm.
the top of love, I want to thank you, my sister. You know, this was fantastic. You're just, here's the thing, you're a beautiful person
Thank
and
you.
you have a beautiful family. And I know, I get it. It can be tough and, you know, I get it. But somebody taught me this a long time ago when it comes to social media. It's still hard. It's still
Mhm.
hard because I get people who say a bunch of stuff about me, right? Or
Mhm.
BEP and this and that and whole 9 yards, right? And you don't think I want to, and sometimes I come so close to, but this dude, Mike Greenberg, he's a sports commentator, and he talked about this with Twitter, and he has a good point. He says, look, when you become, you know, when you start having presence on social media, people are going to say everything, but the key is, it's not to look down. It's to
Yeah.
look up.
Mhm.
Okay. You're
Yeah.
looking down, you're looking at the comments. Don't do that.
Right.
Right? Just look up.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Look
Okay.
up. Right? And then that way,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what somebody says or not because you're not engaging. Right?
Right.
And it's
Mhm.
easier said than done. But all that being
Mhm.
said, I just want to say I'm glad you looked up today, that you were willing to come on a Black Executive Perspective podcast, share, you know, lyric story, your story, but also showcase the beauty of your family and who you are and your beautiful
Mhm.
daughter. And again, man, you don't have to, you know, get defensive or anything about what people say because it's not a fact. Because you just showcased on our show today the love, the empathy, the intellect, all the things. That's why
Mhm.
you and your family, God is blessing you guys because you guys put other people first. And I just
Mhm.
love it. So I want to thank you for coming on a Black Executive Perspective podcast,
Thank
Cassh
you.
Mahama.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It was our pleasure, my sister. So I think it's now time for
Tony's Tidbit.
and the tidbit today. Being a mom manager isn't about chasing fame. It's about modeling faith and guiding your child through storms you can't always stop, but teaching them how to stand strong in the rain. When your intentions come from love, no algorithm can outshine your purpose because a mother's love becomes divine power when fueled by vision. Faith doesn't erase the struggle. It anchors you in the belief that every challenge is part of your calling. And you heard a lot of that from our sister, Cassh Mahama. So again, please don't forget to check out this Thursday, Need to Know by Dr. Nasinga Burton here on the Black Executive Perspective podcast. Dr. Burton dives into the timely and most crucial topics that shape our world. You want to tune in to gain insight, deepen your understanding of the issues that matter. Don't miss my sister, Dr. Nasinga Burton, Need to Know here on the Black Executive Perspective podcast. Also, our roundtable is really going at it. So don't check out the next Pull Up, Speak Up here on the Black Executive Perspective podcast, where bold, unfiltered voices tackles today's most provocative issues, sharp perspectives, real talk, and a call to action. Tune in to join the revolution. Pull Up, Speak Up here on BEP. Now, for all those who continue to follow and watch and listen to a Black Executive Perspective podcast, you know what our calling is. We have a call to action called LESS. For those, if this is your first time, we're asking everyone to incorporate this call to action. Our goal is to eliminate all forms of discrimination. And to do that, we're asking everyone to incorporate less, LESS, and this is in everyone's control. The L stands for learn. You want to educate yourself on racial and culture nuances. Learn about new people, new cultures that you're not in your network circle. Then after you learn, you have the letter E. That stands for empathy. Now, since you've learned, now you can be more empathetic to them because you can put yourself in their shoes. And then after you empathize, you have the first S, which is share. Now you want to share what you've learned to others to help them become more enlightened. And then the final S is stop. You want to stop discrimination as it walks in your path. It's so easy. It's just this simple. If Aunt Jenny or Uncle Joe says something that's inappropriate at the Sunday dinner table, instead of sitting there with your mouth open or giggling, you say, Aunt Jenny, Uncle Joe, we don't believe that, we don't say that, and you stop it right there. So if everyone can incorporate less, LESS, will build a more fair, more understanding world. And guess what? We all will see the change that we want to see because less will become more. Don't forget to follow a Black Executives Perspective podcast. Go to our website, sign up for the newsletter. It's called the Monthly Perspective. You're going to find out what's really going on, find out all our shows everywhere. Sign up. Don't forget to follow us on our social channels of LinkedIn, X, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at The Black Exec. For my fabulous guests, the mother of all mothers, my girl Cassh Mahama, I'm Tony Tidbit. We talked about it. We learned about it. We laughed about it. There's a kid with an old soul about it. We love you. And guess what? We're out.
A Black Executive Perspective.